Hi, I'm Jason. I'm 32 years old and I have a job in a remote Amazon warehouse. It's one of those enormous fulfillment centers bordered by mostly flat terrain, with a few scattered trees, the kind of location where the wind is constantly blowing, but its direction is never clear. This is not where I intended to be. My goal since I was a teenager has always been to work in the field of graphic design. I went so far as to enroll in a few of classes at my local community college. However, fate intervened. I required an instantaneous source of income because my bills were piling up. That's how I wound myself working in this warehouse day in and day out, packing and shipping boxes. Working here is boring. Scanning products, packing them into boxes, and sealing them takes a lot of my time. The beat is so soothing it's hypnotic. On occasion, I realize that I am only acting, forgetting completely. It doesn't make me happy, but I need the money every day. Jeff, who is my boss, is an adventurous man who enjoys classic sitcoms and has a beer belly. In the break room, he frequently plays Golden Girls repeats and laughs louder than everyone else. He's an honest man, flaws and all, as long as we hit our targets. He doesn't intervene too much, which is great. In the cramped, windowless break area, you can find a few vending machines and a machine that makes what looks like coffee. Whenever I have a break, I like to watch whatever Jeff has on TV while sipping harsh coffee and wrangling with a vending machine that acts independently. Everyone I work with is different. One such person is Mike, a high school dropout who is never short on conspiracy theories. It appears that some of them are accurate. Then there's Sarah, who reminisces about her track team days in high school. Despite our differences, we manage to get along just fine. The days fly quickly when you're involved in office chit-chat. There are a few strange characteristics about this warehouse that I've noticed throughout the months. We are specifically informed not to go to particular places and not to open certain parcels under a nice circumstances. I naively assumed that was simply business policy at first. Still, my senses were picking up on the fact that something was off as I watched more closely. I've begun to write down all of these strange regulations, almost like an informal guidebook, for staff, in an effort to acclimate the new recruits to the peculiarities they may face. I provide it to them as a ritual. It's something most people take for granted until they go through it themselves. Thus, see them. Say what you want about the peculiar regulations enforced by this Amazon warehouse. First rule, you should never consume vending machine beef jerky. There's no meat in it. That may sound funny, but trust me, it's not. It is not beef, I swear. In my first several weeks on the job, I failed to give the vending machine much consideration. Metal with a glass front, it looked just like all the others. Lines of goodies with the swiveling tiny coil. But then I looked at the box, the whole thing seemed wrong, as if left out in the sun. The colors had faded. I had trouble reading the names on several of the older wrappers. The logos on the chips were unfamiliar to me. There were candy bars that appeared to be handcrafted. Nothing had an expiration date, and the plastic was murky. On one particular shift, though, I attempted it despite my exhaustion and hunger. What seemed like beef jerky was the kind I chose. My assumption was incorrect. The consistency was off. Some parts are too soft, while others are too crunchy. After chewing just one bite, I wondered whether my senses were playing tricks on me. Later on, I sensed it. A pointed object. I gargled it with my glove and noticed a small, whitish object amidst the muck. Almost seemed like a cavity. I never touched the beef jerky again after that. The problem is that the vending machine continues to be a pain even when the food doesn't retaliate. Mike once got a bunch of toothpicks instead of a candy bar when he asked for one. Instead of the Diet Coke Sarah ordered, she received a single shoelace and an apology note, scrawled in lowercase letters on a ripped piece of cardboard with a blue pen. I beheld the event unfold. As if it were a joke, she stared at it in silence, as if a terrible memory had just come flooding back to her. On occasion, the machine will dispense coins rather than snacks, non-US currency, odd forms, soft metal, or alien objects. Left unmarked, it appeared as though one of them had a hole cut directly through the center. I held on to that one. At that point, I completely lost it. Perhaps it departed. Also, I won't tell you how good the sandwiches are. That error has never been repeated. The most bizarre aspect is that the machine moves about constantly. It was in hallway B, close to the mop sinks when I initially noticed it. Going on to the next shift, it had vanished. Near the loading dock, it reappeared a week later, motionless, as if it had always been a part of the structure. I wanted to see if Sarah remembered it being there previously. She refused to discuss the matter further after saying no. The break room is a possible location. Occasionally, it might be found adjacent to the primary exit. I once noticed it in the men's room, casually perched next to the sinks. Keep it hidden from view. I attempted to ask Jeff in a casual tone once, while enjoying a beer from a travel mug. He was engrossed in watching Golden Girls reruns in the break room. My response was, "Hey, do you know who sells those snacks in the vending machine?" After a little delay, he finally mentioned that it was already here when he arrived. Dude, I am completely clueless. It was that. That was obviously not an adequate response. Yeah, you can't put your faith in that. That beef jerky in particular. Place 2. Ignore any pounding you hear coming from behind dock door 9. Uncertainty surrounds dock door 9, but it stands out from the rest. At first glance, it appears to be a fire engine red. Nevertheless, with a more refined texture, those doors don't appear on any of the other warehouse doors. Secondly, it has been securely fastened. Crossed over it are for thick silver lines, as an exit appears as though someone intended to ensure that it would never open again. According to Jeff, the freezer line burst in 2009, causing the entire back end of the warehouse to become an ice box in an instant. Surprisingly, some employees suffered from frostbite. After that, they decided it was too risky and locked off dock door 09. Later on, though, I questioned why they welded it instead of simply locking it. That merely cut off its path, shut it as if something were about to come out. As Jeff mentioned before, it's better for some doors to be dead on sometimes. He says things like that. His own voice probably goes unheard by him. It will occasionally be audible during the night shift. How loud it is. A lot of noise. Quite hefty. It would be like someone slamming their entire body into the door. I heard it for the first time. To my mind, it sounded like a truck pulling up to a stoplight. However, the loading schedule caught my attention. It was the night before no trucks were scheduled to be delivered. The second time around, it seemed more urgent and personal. Plus, it sounded completely off. No haphazard hammering here. The beat was regular, almost like a knock. A moment of quiet followed. According to Mike, the remnants of the freezer are simply creating air pressure. Claims that the cold storage facilities and pipelines are still there, grumbling and making noise. And maybe voices have also been audible to me. There are moments when the absolute silence allows you to discern what seems like human speech emanating from behind that door. My name has been called. Just once. My name is Jason, it stated. Nice and quiet. I proceeded to stroll. A theory exists. For everyone, there was a monster hunter that worked there, according to Mike. Claims to have read about a person online who was in need of a safe haven for strange creatures. Suggestions that they secretly rented out a portion of the warehouse for cash. They incarcerated one of them at dock door 9. Corporate sealed up the entire region as soon as the hunter vanished. According to Sarah, an Impan employee who got stuck in there when the freezer burst, went completely insane and began shrieking like a wild animal. It is possible that he passed away, possibly not. She has apparently decided to avoid that section of the warehouse altogether. I recall my mother telling me that she was the daughter of a clergyman. Those cramped little houses with out-of-tune pianos and folding chairs were my childhood haunts. Legends about demons, not the movie variety, but the sort with big smiles and voices that sounded like kind neighbors or uncles until they got inside, were stories that she used to tell me when I was a kid. Do not respond if an invisible entity approaches you through a closed door, she warned. That isn't a human, whatever the case may be. I keep my head low as I stroll past dock door 9. Not a peep from me. No, I won't. I also avoid answering when my name is called. Thirdly, refrain from donning any perfume or scented body lotion. My first few days on the job here, I sported this inexpensive perfume. I picked up at the gas station, smelled of pine and caramelized sugar. After a hard shift, I believed it would help me smell better. Sarah teased me about it, comparing it to her locker in high school and embarrassing dances from middle school. Something then trailed me to my vehicle one night. The crunch of gravel behind me sounded like footsteps, but I couldn't see it. Something enormous, too large to be a person, but too swift to be a coyote, appeared before me in the darkness. After unlocking my car, I leaped inside. For 10 minutes, I did nothing but stare at the trees. I stopped using cologne after that. Yeah, Jason, I should not wear Senate stuff. Jeff informed me when he got me aside one day. This draws in a lot of people. Those people, in an instant. Just counsel, no snark or explanation. Simplified and flat. Those people. Excuse me, I inquired. With a nod, he acknowledged. Wasps despise jasmine. Drives people insane. Avoid using Axe spray around Wendigos. Seems like it could be a prey scent. Others exist as well. Show up and tidy up. It makes no sense. Rinse off, if you gotta. He patted me on the shoulder and went back to watching Golden Girls. I didn't ask questions after that. Mike swears he saw something one night in the tree line. Said it was 7 feet tall and walked like it had too many joints. He thinks the company keeps something in the woods, like a fence line test or something military. I'm not sure what I believe, but I have noticed the security cameras outside only point inward, not toward the forest. I also noticed Jeff keeps a tiny little bottle of baking soda in his locker. No shampoo, no soap. Just a plain box of powder. He uses it to scrub. Up before every shift. Just enough to smell like nothing. Sarah switched to unscented deodorant. She doesn't like to talk about it, but I saw the claw marks on her car once. 3 long scratches down the back bumper, like someone tried to peel it open. Rule number 4. If you find a bone in a package, reseal it and put it back on the belt. You think I'm joking, but I have seen it happen more than once. You're packing a box, regular stuff, batteries or vitamins, or I don't know, socks, and tucked in the corner. Underneath the bubble wrap, there's something that looks like a piece of rib bone or a finger. Once I saw what looked like part of a jaw. It had teeth, tiny ones. Your first instinct is to stop everything. You look around for a manager. You expect alarms or someone to come running. But nothing happens. No sirens, no warnings, just silence. You look closer, no return address, no shipping label, just a tag that says, for the Institute. There may be 10 or 15 boxes like that every night. Not always bones. Sometimes it's something sealed in plastic that smells wrong or a jar filled with liquid that moves on its own. I don't ask questions. None of us do. The first time it happened to me, I stared at the bone for a solid minute. Looked too big to be a dog's, too small to be a cow's. I didn't want to touch it, but I didn't know what else to do. That's when Jeff walked by. He didn't flinch. Just looked at the box and said, "Red sticker. Put it back on the belt. Not your fight." So that's what I did. There's a roll of red dot stickers by the tape guns now. You see something that doesn't belong. You slap one on, seal the box, and send it back down the line. Put it in the return bin. Don't report it. Just let it go, and it always finds its way. Jeff always knows where to send it. Sometimes I think he doesn't sleep. Sometimes I think he's the only one here who actually knows what this place does. Mike's got a million theories. Says the warehouse is part of a secret contract with some underground research group. Says Amazon made a deal with the government years ago, and now they ship more than just diapers and books. He says the Institute is real. Says they're the ones who handle the stuff regular people aren't supposed to see. I used to laugh at him. Now I don't. Sometimes the Institute boxes hum a little, just under the type, a low, steady sound, like something mechanical or maybe alive. One night, Sarah swore she saw one twitch. She marked it with 2 red dots just in case. Now, whenever I'm packing and something feels wrong, I don't even open the box all the way. I peek in, peel off a sticker, and I move on. Not my fight. It doesn't pay enough to be my fight. Rule number 5, only take your 10-minute break in designated zones. We get 2 breaks per shift. 10 minutes each, not a second more, not a second less. Jeff is very strict about that. You'd think it's because he's a company man, but it's not. It's because there are only 3 safe spots to take your break, and if you sit anywhere else, something might find you. The designated zones are the break room, the chair cluster behind Station C, and the bench near the mop closet by hallway. That's it. Nowhere else. Don't sit near Dock 9. Don't even walk near it during your break. I know one guy who did. His name was Derek. He was new, maybe 3 days in. Tall guy, neck tattoo, always chewing gum. Thought the rules were jokes. He said he liked the quiet and wanted to take his break outside by the loading dock. We warned him. He rolled his eyes and went anyway. He didn't come back. No one found a body either. His badge was still in the system. He never clocked out. Jeff said it must have been a personal emergency, and someone from HR cleared his locker before the end of the night. But I know what happened. There's a werewolf that stalks Dock 9. It's not like the movies. No shredded clothes, no half-man nonsense. Just a creature with long legs and thick arms and yellow eyes. Sarah swears she saw it once through the break room window. Said it walked like it owned the place. The cameras don't catch it. We checked. Mike even pulled the footage from his phone one night and scrubbed through it. Nothing. But we still hear it. Late breaks, especially toward the end of the shift. Sometimes you hear breathing from outside. Not fast, not heavy, just slow and even, like it's waiting. Sometimes you'll hear a howl. I don't go near Dock 9 anymore, not for anything. Even when Jeff asked for help moving pallets, I find an excuse. One night, I saw a streak of fur by the loading ramp, just a flash low to the ground, like it was crawling. No wind, no noise, just a flash. That's all it took. Now when I take my 10, I sit in the plastic chair behind Station C. I face the wall. I sip bad coffee and I chew old gum and count down every second until I can get back to work. It's safer that way. Rule number 6, you clock out before sunset. Always, no matter what. You'd think a company like Amazon would love overtime, but not here. Not at this warehouse. No one stays past sunset. Not the workers, not the janitors, not even Jeff. There's no warning siren or loud bell when the sun starts going down. You have to watch the windows, check the shadows, and keep an eye on the clock. When the sky starts turning orange, you drop whatever you're doing and head straight to the front office and clock out. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of packing a box. Doesn't matter if a manager asks you to stay. Doesn't matter if you're 2 minutes from finishing a shift. When it gets close to dark, you leave and you leave fast. I learned that my first month here. I stayed late one night, not on purpose. I just didn't realize how fast the sky changes out here. I was working the belt near the back wall when everything got quiet. I looked up and saw the sunset bleeding through the windows, pink, orange, purple. I thought, all right, 10 more minutes, and I'm done. That's when Sarah grabbed my arm and said, "You need to go now." I've never seen her look that serious. We didn't even stop to log out properly. Just ran for the clock and hit the button. Jeff was already outside, holding his keys like a weapon. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't ever cut it that close again." Mike thinks the night brings out real monsters. Says they live under the warehouse and they only come up after dark. Says the building changes once the sun sets, gets taller, feels heavier, like something wakes up inside the walls. I don't know if that's true, and I don't want to. What I do know is this. When the sky turns orange, I stop everything. I grab my things, clock out, and I get in my car, because this place isn't safe after dark. Whatever lives here gets stronger then, and you do not want to be here. Rule number 7. Monsters are real. If you want to survive, believe it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this rule. It felt too big, too final. Like saying it out loud would make it harder to ignore. But after everything I've seen, everything I've heard, I knew I had to write it down. Monsters are real, actually real, not just animals that look weird in the dark, not just stories made up to scare kids, not just rumors passed around during night shift to keep things interesting. I've seen too much. I've lived through too much of it to pretend anymore. They're not people in costumes. They're not misunderstandings. They're not tricks of the light. They're monsters, different kinds. Different rules, some walk, some crawl, some mimic voices, some just wait. But they are all here, and they all know us. Some of them stay in the corners of the warehouse, some show up in shipments. Some move the vending machine when no one's watching. Some follow the scent of jasmine. And some sleep behind red doors, and some just wait for you to break the rules. Sarah's gonna quit. I can tell. She doesn't talk as much anymore. Doesn't joke like she used to. She keeps looking at the sky through the narrow break room window. Times are clocked out to the minute. Packs her stuff before the final hour. Mike won't last long after that. He's all talk and big stories. But he needs someone like Sarah around to keep him balanced. Without her, he'll either dig too deep or give up entirely. Either way, he won't stay. And me, well, I've started looking for another job. Something slower, something far from here. Even if it doesn't pay daily, even if I have to stretch pennies. I can't keep coming back here. There's something very wrong with this place. I've written these rules for whoever comes next, the newbies. The ones who show up looking for quick cash and think this is just another warehouse job. It's not, and it never was. Take the money, save what you can, and while you're working here, follow the rules, every single one. Don't eat the beef jerky. Don't listen to the red door. Don't wear scented lotion. Don't open the box with bones. Don't take your break in the wrong spot. Don't stay past sunset. And most of all, remember this. Monsters are real. This job is not for keeps. You're not supposed to stay. Get in and get paid. Get out. That's the only way. I'll be gone soon. And when I leave, we'll leave these rules taped to the back of the locker door. Look for them there and follow them. It's the only way to survive, because there are real monsters here and they're hungry.